All right, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be changing the power steering rack in this thing. I just noticed the other day it started to leak where the steering column shaft comes down into the steering rack. There's a seal there, it's leaking. I didn't feel like rebuilding it, so I'm just going to go ahead and put a new one in. Let me get this thing up on the lift and I'll show you exactly where it's leaking from. All right, I got the car up in the air. This thing's been leaking a little bit here and there for a while, and I always thought it was the lines, but recently, I don't know if you can see, saw a big puddle under the car, and I'm pretty sure it's coming right from right there. Go ahead and get these tie rod ends off. Then I got two mounting bolts right there, and obviously we got to get these lines, get the fluid drained. Let's get started. For this, I'm going to probably count the threads on either side so I can get the alignment close before I actually get it aligned. Wow, it's a lot looser than I thought that would be. My thought is because I'm not replacing these tie rod ends, I wanted to get pretty much the parts that I wanted to get weren't in stock. So I'm gonna leave these stock ones in for now until they do, and then I'll swap them after. But I don't wanna mess these boots up, getting these out of the hub here. So my idea is, I don't know if it's gonna work, I want to just spin the inner tie rod until these come out and move the wheels out. And hopefully I can spin the inner tie rod until these just come out, and I can leave the outer tie rods in the hub. We'll see how that works. All right, that actually worked, no problem. There we go. Now I got drift boy angle. Next I'm gonna get these, try to get these banjo bolts off of the rack, and then for the cooler, drain the fluid. Wow, this fluid looks shot. Really dark. Trying to get the banjo bolt off. The glove on my hand lasted about 30 seconds. There we go. All right, there's crush washers on either side of these that you just gotta watch and grab. All right, I'm gonna try to get that other banjo in the back there. That bigger one was a 22. The one in the back looks smaller, maybe like a 17 or something. Maybe it's a 19. Yep, winner. There we go. It's nice. Once they loosen, they pretty much will just come right out with your hand after that. I guess I'm gonna take this little loop off now. I think they're 10 millimeter. There we go. All right, that's nice. Came out pretty easy. All right, so I had I was trying to see what size the shaft is, and it was kind of weird because the 13 was loose on it, but I definitely, it was loose on there, so I went and grabbed a 1/2 inch, and that fits a lot nicer. I don't think this is a stock size. It was probably like a 13 or something, but this car's been apart a million times, so someone probably just used a 1/2 inch on it. Or not, who knows, maybe it is a 1/2 inch. I'm only getting like one click at a time here. It's in a pretty tight spot. Thinking maybe I can spin it a little more and then get an extension on it. All right, yeah, so I spun it a little bit so I can get easier access on it right now. And I'll be able to get the impact on it and just hold the top one. Well, yeah, I had the wheel straight. It's hard to get when the wheel's straight. You gotta turn it a little bit.
And then another thing, completely take the bolt right out, because there's a little notch in that shaft, so it won't come off unless you take the bolt completely off. Now I spun it so that I can see the bottom little opening. I'm gonna put a screwdriver in there and just kind of try to spread it open a little bit so it hopefully will come off easier. I just hammered the screwdriver in there. I'm just gonna leave it for now. And I guess we will now attack these lower ones. All right, so you do have to hold, there's a nut on the top too. Those are out. All right, now hopefully the rack will just move forward and come out now. Oh, nice, that came off pretty easy. Nice, not bad. It was a lot easier than I thought. All right, old rack's out. Now I'm just gonna check and make sure I'm not missing anything. Looks like these lines they came on the new one. This new rack it's obviously not a reman one. It looks like it's a new one, I guess. I bought it right off eBay. Some people are making these now. They're like the Z3, non-M Z3 style, so 2.7 turns left to right. So it should be a little bit closer ratio than a stock 3 Series one. So hopefully it works out well. I'm just gonna pull these caps off and then go ahead and transfer over these nuts for the tie rod ends and then get it back in. All right, now I'm actually going to put the car back on the ground and put the steering wheel straight and maybe ratchet strap it or something so the steering wheel stays straight, because it's gonna be very hard without 2 people to hold the steering wheel, make sure it's straight, and then line it up and put the rack back on. So I'm gonna lower that and get the steering wheel straight. So when I put the steering rack in here, I know I can just push it on as long as I line it up on the steering rack as well, which I haven't showed you yet. There's a little mark on here, and I guess this mark needs to line up with this. And that's when you know that this thing is straight. So I guess this mark needs to line up with this, and that's when you know this is the most center part of the steering rack. I mean, you can also just measure, make sure you're close side to side. So since I don't have any friends, this is what I did to keep this steering wheel straight. Might be a little harder to do in a stock car. Obviously this is a race car, so I got the cage here just to ratchet strap this through and over, and then I just centered the steering wheel, tighten it up, and it's not going anywhere. Pull it back out and then get a screwdriver in there and try to split this open a little bit, because it's very tight. That looks a little bit more open. try that. All right, so what I actually did was, I got it started, so I know that the steering wheel's straight and the rack's straight. I got it started on the splines and they got really hard, so I lowered the car. I unstrapped the steering wheel so that I can now turn this piece down so that the opening, because the opening on it is straight up and down, it's hard to get a screwdriver in. So I turned the wheel left. Now that it is lined up, I can get this down here so I can hopefully hammer the screwdriver in here to get the shaft on completely. All right, so what I did was I actually took, after just fighting, I couldn't get this this new rack onto the spline here. We'll go start a little bit. So what I ended up doing was taking the piece behind it. There's, you know, the rubber piece and the other spline coming down from the steering column. I took that piece off, took it off, put it on the bench, put the piece onto the rack, and then since it's, you know, old spline and old piece, you know, both have been on there before, I brought it back on with that piece on the rack and put it up onto the steering shaft. So that was a lot easier. Honestly, if I would do this again, I would probably take it off of the steering shaft, not the rack, and do exactly how I did it before, or do it exactly how I just did it. All right, well, let's get this tightened up and then put some fluid in it. I'm just putting that bolt back onto the steering shaft. All right, I'm gonna get these banjos back on. Start with the one in the back, the smaller one, and don't forget your crush washers. Definitely don't use the old ones like I am. All right, just make sure these are pretty tight. Now go ahead and grab this guy. Let's throw this one back on. So something that's a little different, I just noticed, since this is a Z3 rack, it does not have the mount on this side. I'm probably just gonna have to put some sort of spacer in there and, I don't know, zip tie it on there or something like that. And then the big one's 22. Slowly tighten this, one turn, little thread at a time. All right, so I'm actually gonna end this video off right now. I have to change the length of the power steering lines that are on there right now, so I'm gonna have to have some new custom lines made. So obviously, you know, the next steps, put the lines back on there, put your tie rod ends back on, make sure to count those threads, get it close until you get in alignment, and then put fluid in it. Start the car, fill the reservoir up, put fluid in it, just keep going full walk left, full walk right, back and forth. It'll self-bleed itself. Just make sure the level's good, then you should be good to go. I'm actually gonna be heading out to Sebring. We're gonna go down there and do a couple track days, so I'm probably gonna have some videos for that, so if you guys are interested in that, stay tuned. Thanks.